Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations discussion. And today, we're going to be taking a look at another implication from the recent events in the Boruto manga, which is we've now reached a point where it's time for the other members of the Boruto cast have to step things up, or else they're going to be left behind to a point where they don't just become irrelevant in fighting situations, they run the risk of becoming worse than Konohamaru, and that's not to drag Konohamaru at all. Outside of that one moment where he stunned one of the pains with the Rasengan, stunning it, not destroying it, Konohamaru in Naruto's manga was mostly comedic relief, but characters like Sarada and Mitsuki, they don't get that excuse, which is why they're in danger if something isn't done with their characters during the time skip of Boruto. Whereas Konohamaru wasn't really used for fights in Naruto's manga, Sarada and Mitsuki from the jump have been characters who we expect to see in combat, but as the power creeps have continued in Boruto, they went from being strong enough to provide support in a battle, with Boro and even Sarada playing a key role in that fight, breaking down Boro's virus and striking the final blow to his ninja tech core in the manga. They slid off the coast of the island of relevancy that Boruto and Kawaki are currently on. Sarada and Mitsuki both know they can't stay as they currently are, with Sarada openly saying that if she and Mitsuki don't want to be left behind, they're going to have to level up to a point to where they can fight Otsutsuki, which basically means hitting 10 tails levels of power, if you wish to be able to stand in opposition to Otsutsuki level threats. However, after all, Sarada said it herself, she has a deeper drive for wanting to level up other than just to support Boruto. It's also because she wants to be strong enough to get the title of Hokage. That way she can achieve her dream of becoming Hokage and protecting the village and being the first Uchiha to ever hold that title. But in the meantime, if Sarada's looking for a title, she can always go to Established Titles and officially become known as Lady Sarada by visiting Established Titles, the sponsor of today's video. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping with global reforestation efforts. It's a project based in historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds, or lords and ladies in English. With Established Titles, you get at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with the crest, which has a unique plot number to show you your land. Established Titles plants a tree with every order they receive and work with charities like One Tree Planet and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. Just as Naruto gets to call himself Lord Hokage, you can officially call yourself Lord or Lady, which now that I have this certificate calling me a Lord, it's going to be on my desk and everybody who comes to my office has to call me the Lord. And you can get it on your credit card or your plane tickets, or you sussy bakas can even use it on your dating profiles. If you go for the romantic route, you can also purchase the couples pack, which comes with adjoining plots of land. The first 200 people purchasing the title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance from it. Depending on how many of you guys want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our own little Naruto Explained kingdom. My late grandmother, who just passed away, not only loved flowers but also trees as well, so I'm gonna purchase one to honor my late grandmother. It makes an amazing last minute gift. Established Titles is actually running an early Black Friday sale, plus if you use the promo code EXPLAIN, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/explain to get your gift and help support the channel. Thank you again to Established Titles for sponsoring today's video. So how exactly can Sarada level up in a meaningful way to support Boruto or stand against Boruto when the time comes to fight Momoshiki, when Momoshiki takes over Boruto's body in the future of the manga? Well, today we're going to look at 5 realistic ways that Sarada can level up to reach her goal, and the suggestions are suggestions I've seen from you guys mentioning in the comment section, and I'm going to break down the implication of each, and there are a couple in here I'm absolutely not a fan of, so I'm going to say that for full disclosure, but we'll touch on that later. So our first suggestion that people have mentioned is that Sarada should take her chakra control training to another level by going to train with the mother Sakura and learn the Byakugo seal. In hindsight, there's definitely some foreshadowing for this. Sarada has been shown inquiring about the Byakugo, and Mitsuki's statement about the Byakugo saying that Orochimaru traced its origins back to the time of the Sage of Six Paths means that there's a chance that both Sakura and Tsunade haven't reached the true power of the Byakugo, and there's actually some evidence for this. When Sakura unleashed her seal in the war, it wasn't just one big power-up, though it's easy to just write it down to such, and people tend to solely focus on Sakura claiming that she caught up with Naruto and Sasuke in that iconic scene because she went from being at an elite Jonin level to seemingly catching up to EMS Sasuke and a refined KCM1 Naruto, but a close read of the manga reveals there's actually more more power in her Byakugo than we saw in that initial moment when she unleashed it. The power itself kept growing as more time went on, going from what we first saw it as to Obito confirming the full amount of her chakra in that seal when fully unleashed has more chakra than 1/3 of 6-pass chakra mode Naruto. That was enough in the manga to later on break Kaguya's horn and do enough internal damage that her cheek ended up being bruised by the attack, and it was an attack that Kaguya did see coming because she's drawn with an exclamation point and she has her Byakugan active. Sakura stored up that much chakra in only 3 years on top of her normal training. Sarada right now is much stronger than her mother was at the same age when Sakura first went to train with Tsunade, and you also have Sasuke himself admitting that Sarada is stronger than he was at the exact same age as Sarada. For comparison, Sakura barely had the power and the skill to call herself a Genin at that point in time, but between her own training with Tsunade, she was able to raise her power to being higher than most Jonin, and that's before she used her Byakugo seal. So just imagine what Sarada could do if she trained to master the Byakugo and was able to collect chakra at the same rate as her mother. By default, any benefits she got from the seal would be greater than her mother got 16 years ago because Sarada's base is much stronger than her mother's was when her mother began storing up chakra. So even if they stored the exact same amount of chakra in their seals, Sarada's sealing will be default just due to the fact that Sarada's base is stronger. However, it's worth noting that Sarada's chakra control would have to improve insanely to pull this off because Byakugo is different for someone like Shizune who has elite chakra control and was considered by Tsunade to be a prodigy, so this isn't exactly an easy case. But if Sarada does pull this off, Orochimaru's claims about the 6-pass connection, if they are true, this could lead to a true Byakugo seal and potentially a bigger multiplier of the chakra stored inside of it. Now at number 2, we have people suggesting that Sarada should train with Kakashi since Sasuke's likely going to train Boruto on the time skip. Now this makes a lot of sense. Kakashi is a former Hokage, so it will be putting Sarada closer to a dream of becoming the Hokage because it gives her more credentials when the vetting process begins whenever Naruto ultimately steps down, since the feudal lord does value lineage and training trees a lot when considering the Hokage, which is a reminder though we as fans, we love Sasuke, Sasuke's still a criminal on probation, and there are portions of the population that have not forgiven Sasuke or respect Sasuke, something that the mangas hinted at when the Jonin were talking crazy to Sasuke, and the novels directly stress that this is the case. If you look at the benefits from this scenario, being the student of the 6th Hokage, who was the sensei to the 7th Hokage, and who was the student of the 4th Hokage, who was also the student of the 3rd Hokage, who was also the student of the first 2 Hokages, it gives Sarada the boost that she needs because you can trace back her sensei tree all the way back to the founding of Konoha. However, Kakashi does more than just boost her credentials as Hokage, but instead he also gives her training one-on-one to fully master the Sharingan in ways that only Kakashi can train her. Kakashi's skill with the Sharingan was praised by Itachi, who said for a non-Uchiha, his skill with the Sharingan was commendable. With Sarada, one thing that we've seen over and over is that her body does get drained when using the Sharingan for longer periods in time. In the first Chunin exam, she said her stamina was her weakness. Against the fight against Deepa, stamina once again was an issue. During her training with Sasuke and Sakura, stamina was brought up more than once during that training. During the battle with Boros, she kept cutting the Sharingan on and off, keeping it on long enough to read his hand signs and his movements, and then cutting it off to avoid using the chakra when she wasn't fighting or watching Boros' movements. Kakashi is the perfect person to help her develop her jutsu and her fighting style to maximize her jutsu in ways to end fights quickly and efficiently. This could ultimately lead to Kakashi passing down his purple lightning or working with Sarada to take her Chidori from being the Chidori to refining it to the lightning blade and passing on several different versions of the lightning blade that Kakashi created, which I've done a whole video breaking down all the many different variations of the Raikiri. Now coming in at number 3, we have people saying that she needs to transplant Sasuke's original eyes into her body once she inevitably wakens up the Mangekyo Sharingan, which as you should have seen in a video that should be uploaded on the channel by now, depending on whether or not the sponsor cleared it. The video talks about the ways that Sasuke can get a new Sharingan. You guys do know, if you watched that video, that the anime showed Sasuke's destroying Obito's lab. However, this wasn't shown in the manga. In the manga, Sasuke Sasuke kills White Zetsu, cuts his way through the ceiling, and then leaves the hideout. If we go by the manga version of the story, there would be a set of Sharingan at that hideout that do belong to Sasuke, since Sasuke took Itachi's eye, and the two chakras of Itachi and Sasuke fused together to birth the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, the only downside to this is that any boost that Sarada gets is going to be dependent on how strong our base power level is. The stronger the base, the stronger the benefit one gets from EMS, because EMS is just a chakra increase when you boil it down, but it's a massive chakra increase as we've seen in the series. Sasuke went from being weaker than Sage Mode Naruto and getting worked on by the 4th Raikage to being equal to KCM2 Naruto and having the ability to track Jubi Obito's attacks and counter them. The only thing that changed was that Sasuke replaced his blind eyes with Itachi's eyes, and Itachi's chakra merged with Sasuke's chakra, creating the EMS. For this to have the benefit, Sarada's power with the Mangekyo would have to be on par with Karma Seal Boruto, which means she would have to raise her base power level to an insane level. Then you get the Mangekyo, and then you get the Eternal Mangekyo, which would accomplish that goal of breaking into Otsutsuki ranks. However, the main problem that you run into here is that a lot of people tend to say, oh, Mangekyo Sharingan, that's like Itachi and Team Taka Sasuke level, and EMS is just Sasuke in the War Arc level. It's the same line of thinking a lot of people say when they say Sage Mode Hokage Naruto right now is now as strong as he was in the Pain Arc, because they're associating the most iconic moments with those powers, with where the power level should be, and they're not factoring in the transformation is just a multiplier of the base. The stronger the base, the more powerful the form or the mode becomes. I liken it to a lot of anime fans often doing the Super Saiyan effect, where until you break everything down for them, they'll say a regular Super Saiyan is just as strong as Super Saiyan Goku, because that's the most iconic version of the form, and overlook the stronger the base, the stronger the transformation. For Sarada, you would need her Sharingan or a Mangekyo Sharingan to be holding pace with Karma Seal Boruto or Kawaki, either in training or shown fighting alongside them, holding her own in a battle against an enemy for it to work. Coming in at number 4, we had the idea that Sarada can use the Byakugo Seal to spam her Mangekyo Sharingan powers, because she can just use the Byakugo Seal to heal any damage done to her eyes from overuse. This one is creative as hell, and there's actually sound logic behind it. The seal should heal the damage being done. It just comes down to Sarada having the chakra control needed to master the seal. That being said, for as incredibly creative as this idea is, I'm personally not a fan of it, which is why I left this theory and the one behind this at the very bottom, because I'm not a fan of the idea. Just because it cheapens the consequences that come from overusing the Mangekyo Sharingan, in my opinion. There should be a risk to using that power, and I'm not a fan if it is done this way, because while it does remove the risk, and it's totally a shonen cliche, so it's probably bound to happen, but for me personally, it's just something that leaves an even worse taste in my mouth than the final arc of Tokyo Revengers, which if you read that manga, you know exactly why I feel that way. Tokyo Revengers went down into the trash tubes. Coming into number 5, we have something I won't hide that I'm not a huge fan of, which is Sarada herself being subjected to the same technology used on Kawaki, Ada, Damon, and Code. Only this time, instead of the mad scientist Amato using the technology and doing God knows what when given the opportunity, instead it would be Katasuke. We saw what Amato did with normal humans and how much power it opened up for them. Imagine what happens if this technology is used on someone as strong as Sarada. It'd be a good way to move forward with making the power jump up several tiers in power like she wants. Now, to all the Boruto Sarada shippers who might be screaming, but if she's a cyborg, that means she can't have Boruto's baby. What about Saruto? I want all of you to calm down. For the 100th time, you're confusing androids with cyborgs, like 90% of the Western anime fandom tends to do. Cyborgs are humans with mechanical enhancements. Androids are robots that look human, but they don't have human blood or organs. I'm not a fan of this idea, but I will concede you don't introduce technology like this into the story and then turn around and put it in the possession of the main cast helpers and not reintroduce it later. either, especially in a shonen. Things used for evil turn around and get used for good later on. That's a huge cliche. I could see it happening, but for me, that's an absolute no-go. Which of these routes would you want Sarada to go down? While you think that over, click here to watch my Spy Family video, or click here to watch the Konoha Chapter 2 review, which, as a side note, this ain't a beat for beat retelling of what you saw in the anime. We got a lot of new information in this chapter.